But I'll go check on it just to see.
Steve is no pressure. They all look like.
They do.
Yeah, I can, mine's right here, I can turn it on, put it up there. I just saw that PowerPoint file.
Yeah, you
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is December the 14th, time for our committee meeting for the Natchez Parish School Board. If you would, silence all of your devices that would interrupt our decorum. We're going to ask that Ms. Kanika would have roll call for us.
Mr. Dancy?
Here.
Mr. LaCroix?
Here.
Mr. Benefield? Mr. Garner?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Present.
Mrs. Deidros? Here. Mrs. Broadway?
Here.
Mrs. Gasky? Ms. Palmer?
Here.
Ms. Phelps? And Ms. Bell.
All right. We're going to hear from our superintendent report.
Yes, sir. Sorry about that.
Are we on? Do you think we're on?
Yeah, I don't think we're
Just 1 moment. Mic check, check the mic. Mic check.
There we go.
There we go. All right.
Okay, so my superintendent report, it's a little long today, so I'll try to go as quickly as possible. Since the last board meeting, we had our simulated data release from LDOE. And as we shared with the community and I shared with board members, 71% of the state saw a drop from the simulated data, and they have told us that although they use some of the similar formulas and things of that sort, that there are distortions in this data, both positive and negative distortions. So 71% of the state dropped. We did drop, although we dropped less than the average for the state in their drop. We dropped 1.5 points. The state also, in their data drop, went on to tell us that younger students who spent longer amounts of time in virtual, and historically disadvantaged populations suffered the largest drops. And so we definitely saw this as well. 6 of our schools, though, we do want to mention 6 of our schools were recognized for being in top growth, and 2 of our schools were highlighted for equity, meaning they showed improvement for students in subgroups. The 6 schools that showed top growth were East Natchitoches, Goldana, Marthaville, ELAB, MLAB, Provençal, and Magnet. And the 2 schools that showed growth in their subgroups would be Middle Lab and Magnet. So I want to say we're not satisfied, obviously, with this, but we want to put it in the proper context of the fact that last year was a COVID year that we did not start until September, and then we had our storms, we had all those things. We missed 13 days of school last year, just in general, and that's not including all the students who were quarantined and all the other things we had. And I think at our height, we had close to 30% of our students who were also in virtual. So moving forward, we think this is definitely something that we can build on, and we're excited to see some of that post-COVID data, although we know we are still dealing with COVID. We also want to highlight the fact that this week, Natchez Central had 5 students selected for All-State for orchestra. That's a big accomplishment. It's not something that just happens by happenstance. So congratulations to those students in Natchez Central and also Ms. Olson. Also want to highlight a meeting I had about a week and a half ago with the Sheriff's Office and City Police. We are entering into a partnership with both those entities. With the Sheriff's Office, we're going to be entering a partnership to provide truancy officers for our district. This is something that principals have been asking for a whole lot. There's a lot of students who need to have, we need to address them in a different way when the truancy becomes an issue, and get maybe someone else involved at that point. Also with City Police and the Sheriff's Office, we're addressing some training with them, some crisis management and also active shooter training that we're going to be implementing within right after the Christmas holidays. And that's going to be a multi-phased approach to really make sure that our schools are as safe as we all want them to be. I want to give you a heads up. We had entered into a partnership with Hammond Seals and Geis and a demographer on some analysis or study of the district. I've reached out to Hammond and Sills, and they've done a lot of preliminary work, but they're going to be doing some field work on that study in the next few months. And so they will be out at schools collecting data and doing some different things. And again, this is to make sure that we are doing everything in the most efficient of manner. They're going to be looking at bus routes and all those things to just make sure we're an efficiently run district. As we told y'all when we started this, nothing like this has been done in probably about 20 years, so it's long past due, and we're excited about that. I wanted to reiterate to everyone that we had a really successful first budget meeting this past week. It really was illuminating for board members, for even for staff, and we thought a lot came out of it. Great discussion. I did want to update everyone on the magnet project. We had a second bid come in on the cleanup at Magnet. If you recall, the first bid was, I believe, in the $250,000.
229.
229,000. Second bid came in at right at around 200,000. So cheaper. 204,000. So cheaper, but still kind of in that cost area that is going to be a little bit of an issue. So we're looking at maybe doing that in a phased approach, because we know that area definitely needs to be addressed. It's some overgrown stuff and definitely doesn't look good in that neighborhood, and we need to address it. But it looks like because of the cost, we're going to have to come in and do a phased approach to that. And we'll keep updating y'all. Probably in the January meeting, we'll update y'all as what phase 1, 2, 3 will look like. And so also I wanted to really touch on this, because tonight you're going to see two salary schedule adjustments for two different areas. One is school food service, and one is maintenance. I need to be very clear on this. We are looking to address all salary schedules for all employees this year. In so doing, because these are massive undertakings just for individual areas, such as school food service, that took on its own, I think, about 3 months, and that was really with Ms. Hicks spearheading that. They will come in phases, meaning you will see a couple tonight, you may see a couple more in February, a couple more in March, so on and so forth. Everyone's salary schedule will be addressed. But we need to also make people aware that just because food service will be addressed tonight, we are asking for an effective date on all of these to be July 1 of the next fiscal year, meaning that just because you don't see yours tonight does not mean you won't see it, and it does mean that you will be affected at the same time as everyone else. So again, we want to make sure that we're excited for school food service, we're excited for maintenance, but we don't want anyone to take that and run with it and think that that means that teachers or custodians or paras are not being addressed in the same manner. It's just going to take the next 6 months to address all those. Was that clear? Okay.
One caveat is that the maintenance high skill positions do take effect in January.
Yes, so maintenance is a reorganization, so some of those positions will take effect, but those are, that's a reorg, not an amendment to the salary schedule necessarily. Website and app development, if y'all recall, our original date with the developer was that was going to be this week. They have pushed us back till January, and that's because of they really needed to do some more work on their side, so I just want to update y'all on that. Update on broadband, we are working diligently. We have 2 large grants that we are still waiting on word. Apparently those grants are busy trying to decide the winners and award those, but they have pushed back they were supposed to tell us prior to Thanksgiving, and then they've had to push back. So hopefully we'll know sometime after Christmas on those grants, but those we anticipate some good news with those. Grad cohorts, I'm excited. On January 7th, I, along with several superintendents, will be meeting with NSU first, and then UL Lafayette second, to discuss the possibility of an opportunity for our teachers and staff to pursue a master's degree in a cohort setting with NSU at a reduced rate, and then a doctoral degree with UL at also a reduced rate. So those are 2 very exciting things. That's a Natchitoches initiative that because we don't have the amount of people to be able to do this on our own, we've enlisted other parishes to try to create more of a population so we can get that benefit from those colleges. So that's really exciting. And That's my superintendent report for December.
All right, thank you so very much, Dr. Lloyd. I want to introduce, to some and present to others, pastors with a purpose. If Brother Stanley Clemens would come up, but all you all stand and introduce yourselves. Let me say this too. We have about 40 some pastors who are very concerned about our community. And because the school is part of our community, they're here and they just want you all to know that they stand with us and they're praying with us, praying for us. The day that we had the prayer, we had pastors and preachers everywhere. So, Brother Stanley, if you could, Brother Clemens, if you could come up, but if you all would, from here.
Pastor Ellis, the River Community Church, and we've been praying for the school board for, I'd say 6 months or more, not knowing this was coming, but we've already been involved in that, so we appreciate all the work y'all are doing.
Tim Harris from Goldon Assembly.
Lee Hall from the East Side Church of God in Christ, 5th Street.
Both South, Blue Way Baptist, that's down.
Brother Clemens,
I'm Stanley Clemens from Freedom Life Church here in Naples.
just kind of tell our board about some of the things that we're just wanting to do.
Yeah, we want to, everybody knows there's a huge problem in, just in the world. And of course, as pastors, we know that the only real answer is for people to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, to be born again, to be saved. All of us are saying the same thing. But, we see the violence, the 14, 15-year-old kids being murdered and shot, the violence, the drugs. I know probably every pastor is just like me. They counsel people, grandparents that are raising their grandchildren and great-grandchildren because their kids or grandkids are addicted to drugs. They got on drugs in high school. We see the rehab centers filled. We see the worldly rehab centers with psychological, intellectual things that really, don't fix a person, because we know it starts in the heart. So, we all know there's a problem, and I guess we've sat by, and done nothing other than get up every week and preach, I hope, the best message I could preach on Sunday to a bunch of people that are mostly saved, but we've in effect been inactive and just said, we hope the school board does a great job with our school. We hope the sheriff department does a great job with their job. We hope the police department does their work. But, we saw something amazing and really astounding on the news a couple of months ago. We saw what I heard when I watched the news report was 27 fights in 4 days at a school in Shreveport, and about 10 dads decided to come to school and be present in the school. And from that day, they had no more fights. Kids started attending class, grades started going up. The whole mood and atmosphere of the campus changed. They had interviewed several students that said, the first day I walked in and saw all these dads present, I felt safe for the first time. I felt like I was in a safe place. And so, government's great, but government's not the answer. All the things we can come up with in the natural, they're not the answer. So we've started several things in this group, not just praying for the school board and not just attending and being at school board meetings when we can, in support for you guys, praying for you. And we want you to know that we're here to help. We're here to do anything that we can do. I am a pastor, but through the years, because of money situations, I've had to learn through the years to build buildings, build churches. I've built so many different things through the years. So, I'm sitting here as a pastor and I'm thinking, Magnet School needs cleaned up. And I'm like, well, we have people in our church that have bulldozers, they have track hoes. Why can't we just volunteer to do it for nothing, and say, the school board $200,000. So I'm just saying that,
Yes. I second the motion.
you know, and I don't know, I know a lot of you don't, but my son-in-law was financial director for, I think, 5 or 6 years, Stephen Solomon, in the school board. So we're very aware of the issues and challenges that you guys face, still face. But I'm just saying that there's more ways to do things than one way. And as a pastor, I can get locked in with tunnel vision sometimes, and I can just have somebody walk up and say one thing, and it's like opens a whole new world. And like I say, it got done free, you know. So we're here. I think all the pastors, we have men in our church, we have people. I mean, what better for our community to have 200 dads come show up and do whatever y'all need done at the school. And that's, I think that could happen just like that. And so I'm just trying to open, you know, avenues of connection, communication. We all are, not just me, but all of the pastors. We're tired of seeing kids die. We're tired of seeing the scores go down, you know, because of violence or threats and all that. At our church, we bus in about 30, 40 kids from the worst trailer park in Natchitoches. We've been doing it for 7 years. So we've got some skin in the game, and we're just not talking. And we've seen kids that couldn't read. We help them with their schoolwork. We try to tutor them while they're there. I know Brother Al has a program. We're joining with him. But I know y'all got a lot to talk about. But that's just a little bit. I am a pastor, so I can go a long time. But thank y'all so much for letting us come and just taking a moment to recognize.
Thank you for your
Thank you all so much. I want to piggyback on what they just said on old news. Old news, you all know that we reached out to dads on duty. Well, I received a call today from one of our residents from Natchitoches Parish, Mr. Telsey. And Mr. Telsey said that they did not forget us, and that they still want to be a part of what we're trying to do. And with that being said, they said because Natchitoches is the oldest settlement in the Louisiana Purchase, and they have a feeling for Natchitoches and what we're trying to do, and what the pastors and all of our people are working together trying to make a better Natchitoches. And so with that being said, again, our superintendent and we've talked about a lot of things, but we really, really thank you all as pastors for saying we're here for you. Because for the longest, as we've talked as pastors, we've tried to get in, and we've had walls built up so we couldn't get in. And now I think this board is saying, along with this superintendent, is saying, we welcome you all. So I wanted y'all to hear it from them, not just from me. All right. All right, any new business? You all looked at the consent agenda. Okay, these informational reports, presentation.
Okay. I'd like to invite Joel and Kyle up to come and speak. Remember, this is the ongoing, well, this will be happening quite a few times, about the insurance inspections to continue on our thing for the hurricane lower damage. I'll hand it off to Joe.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, everybody, for giving us an opportunity to give you an update on how things are coming along with our evaluation of the storm damage, both from the hurricane as well as from the ice storm. With me tonight is Joel Moore, who is an expert in estimating, appraising, insurance claims, adjusting, and evaluations. And also Kyle Smith, who is a project manager extraordinaire. He has worn a lot of hats in his life, including that of long-term insurance adjuster, focusing on property evaluations, inspections, estimation, as well as evaluation. And in particular, as it relates to the type of problems that we're dealing with here. What we've done initially is to take a microcosm, to some extent, of the entire problem by focusing on one school to give y'all an idea of just how challenging circumstances really is as we've represented previously. This is the work that they've done in evaluating the damages at Goldana School. Please keep in mind that the insurance company sent out their people following this incident and essentially found nothing wrong. Found nothing that they would relate to the hurricane and/or ice storm. With that background, let me call up Joel first and give you an overview as to what he has done and what he's continuing to do.
Thank you, Superintendent, board members. Thank you for the introduction, Joe. My background is insurance adjusting, and over the years developed a reputation for large loss commercial claim work. So this is in my wheelhouse. In the last 14 months, I've been in this area working very hard with a neighboring school board in the same scenario that we have right now. It is, they were grossly underpaid, and there was a great deal of it was just very poorly handled. So we were able to take a claim that initially was $3.5 million total, and I'm not at liberty to give the number because the check hasn't got there to them yet, but we're up into the multi-million dollars by just slowing down and writing estimates for covered damages. What we experienced during Laura was normal, but a lot of this kind of work is staged, so when Delta, it's the double barrel, it threw this thing into a lot of chaos, which means the personnel got weaker as we got further into the year, and then the ice storm, and I don't have to tell y'all about all this stuff, it's not raining frogs. We're doing pretty good this time. So what we're trying to do is, and then again, I'm here because it's just like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. There's no reason why this should have worked out, but it did. We were y'all were kind of at the end stage of just throwing up your hands and filing a lawsuit. We don't have to do that. This is much more cost effective. It's in the contract. We are given time, and that's what we need from y'all, patience and time. We will turn this the way it should have been done in the previous year.
Amen.
So unfortunately, everybody starts snapping fingers and think it's going to happen. We have a very calculated way of doing this. I have a process, and Kyle's going to follow me right now. And just take a look. This is just one of the schools, one of the campuses, and you can imagine how much more goes. Y'all didn't even have enough in the minds of the first adjusting to cover the deductible. So this is the next step. So I'm turning it over to Kyle Smith, Smith Global. He is the brains behind this organization.
Again, my name is Kyle Smith, Smith Global. My background is in adjusting claims. So I was an insurance adjuster and an independent adjusting firm for the better part of 20 years. And I've since swapped over into the contracting business and kind of found a little niche market to help our customers with, when the insurance company doesn't pay what they're supposed to. So like Mr. Joe said, we're going to kind of go over one property, Goldana. We've got a lengthy presentation for you guys to look at, but I was told to cut this down to 10 minutes. So if we can get to the amount that was paid for Goldana, it was 0. We got that highlighted here somewhere. All right, so here's Goldana, and if I had a pointer, I could kind of reference the buildings, but the amounts that were paid are highlighted, and as you can see, there was no payment because of the deductible, obviously. So let's just take the elementary upper, for instance, $103. Our estimate is somewhere around $600,000-700,000, and it's another slide in here I'll show you. But the auditorium building, $773.93. Our estimate's over $800,000. The tractor storage, $5,000. This thing completely was blown away, obliterated. They had to get rid of the debris for the safety of the children, and you had $100,000 coverage, but the insurance company allowed $5,000. So on and on and on. They just didn't pay anything. They did this assessment of the entire parish in a period of 2.5 days. They inspected it, they wrote it up, and they submitted their findings in 2.5 days. It took us a week with 3 guys to inspect the Gold Donna campus alone. We kind of pay attention to detail, and you know, if it's damaged, it's damaged. We don't make damages up, we don't inflate anything, we just call an ace and a spade a spade. There's damage to this facility that is just mind-boggling, considering what they paid initially. So here's the upper. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the upper, lower portions of the school. This roof is scheduled for replacement. We currently have that on hold. So the insurance company allowed $103.46 on this building. Well, our estimate is almost $500,000.
Right here.
Yeah, that's the roof.
I saw one was $52. How you do that?
$52. Yeah, I don't even know what $52 is. Who you get to come out to do what? Anyways, so this roof, yeah, it needs to be replaced. It's old, but during the storm, it had wind-driven debris blown into the roof. It had all kind of pieces of aluminum from the sidewalks blown all over. It's damaged. It's, in my opinion, replacement is warranted under your insurance policy. So our estimate, if I was the adjuster looking at this, my estimate would be $493,000 change. This is a diagram of that roof. The walkway covers, by the way, they didn't even take into consideration at all.
Yeah, it's destroyed.
They are. So every little X you see represents an area of damage that we discovered when we were inspecting the roof. This is the auditorium. They gave you guys $129.74. Not to spend it all in one spot, but it's $689,052 or $52.39 on the auditorium, and that consists of, well, the AC units moved during the storm. The TPO roof was hit in several areas by flying debris, and there's all kind of additional issues, cat flashing, bent up from the wind, and so forth. The one that really just stuck out was the gymnasium.
That's the one I'm talking about, $52.
This is just, it's amazing. I'll go to some photographs here in just a second. But our estimate, I don't even have that on here. We kind of rushed this presentation to get put together, but it's close to $700,000 on the gymnasium. The entire roof is beyond compromised. It's leaked. The gym floor, where these kids trying to bounce a basketball, is rippled to where they can't even dribble the ball straight. It's a wreck. And so goes for the rest of the campus. I mean, you've got the ag shop building, you've got the tractor storage, you have the concession stands, and the bleachers and additional coverages for things like netting and
That's it.
so total. How do I get back out to here? To where I go to that?
The main estimate.
Yeah,
Hit
exactly.
escape. Open. There we go.
Okay, so this is an exactimate estimate. This is what every most insurance carriers use to generate their estimate of damage, which they're going to write a check for you guys for the damages that they see. Problem is, whenever they inspected it, they didn't take any time to inspect whatsoever. So this is an estimate that is difficult to dispute because this is the same software your insurance company uses. So we take our time, we inspect it, and I could go through each line item, but we'd be here all night. But basically, if you wanna get down to the nuts and bolts of it and the totals, down here at the bottom. Can you get it all the way down there?
But I wanted y'all to see this from the perspective that in the unlikely event we should ever have to go to court, we're not having to duplicate our efforts. These fellows will be our experts if we should have to ever present this to a judge or jury. And the fact of the matter is, it's detail like this and preservation of evidence and identification of evidence. That's the difference between winning or losing at trial, but quite frankly, winning or losing well before that. Hopefully before we even would have to consider filing suit, by simply submitting the type of information that an insurance company expects to receive if they were to have done this properly themselves. And that's what we're doing.
Had they done it properly to begin with, this is the figure you'd be looking at, 3.2 million. This is Goldon Elementary. There are, how many schools in the system? I mean,
12 campuses and two other, the warehouse and the central office here.
So you can imagine after we go over each campus, what we're gonna find, likely. I haven't been to anywhere except Goldon.
But this is an important demonstration to give y'all some idea just how sad the effort was done in this regard. And quite frankly, bad faith is personified in our opinion as to what was done. I don't know how an insurance company could come before you and explain what they did with the less than deductible identification of loss compared to this, particularly when they tried to, in essence, evaluate the entire parish over just a couple of day period. You cannot do it professionally. If you're doing it with the goal of finding no damage, well, congratulations, that's what they did. And they were hopeful that you would ignore them.
Let me ask you.
I'm sorry.
No, let me ask you something. Does this get into the 50% rule?
Yes, sir, it sure can.
Okay.
Because we contend they're already in bad faith.
But that's my thinking.
And that's important because it's a great motivator. In all things being equal, they may try to suggest, well, we didn't have these obligations. They're in bad faith if we are able to prove the positions we're advocating. And if the court agrees they're in bad faith, y'all think you'd have to pay 50% penalty on top of the damages. So we're talking about significant sums of money, but what they have done is put us all in jeopardy and our children, more importantly, in jeopardy of having to be in a position to attend schools that for now are not what we're proud of in all facets because of factors that are outside of our control.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Will you wait till you examine all the other 12 schools before you submit this to the insurance company, or will this be done right away then as you do your inspections?
The folks that have done this for years, and this is somewhat unprecedented for a lot of folks to wait till the end, but it's best to hit them at once.
Mm-hmm.
To get them to focus on just how serious this is. That's just, in essence, what they did in Grant. I believe, Joel, is that right? And Joel can't tell you how much they settled for, but I'm telling you, the number is impressive. And here's the fact of the matter is they actually wanted to just get theirs done. It's a staggering amount of money and they could have gotten more.
There's a process, y'all. And the same adjusting company that handled your claim handled that claim. So I already kind of know the personnel that are involved with it.
But for them to go from their even initial offer, which was low, to a staggering increased figure, they were in bad faith too. But they begged and pleaded and got their case settled, which is fine. But at the end of the day, we're at least going to present y'all with all the information so y'all can make a decision on how y'all wish to proceed when we get to that.
And I think the big difference between us is they had some schools that were not able to be habitable.
No, there we go.
So we don't have that, they don't have that leverage with us where they just need to get in there.
And Dr. Aylor, that's exactly true. They were destitute as it relates to being able to provide a building at all, let alone a safe building. Our buildings are not unsafe. Our buildings are structurally sound. It's just we'd like them to be better than they are. And quite frankly, you paid for these premiums time after time after time. When you were asked to do what you were supposed to do, you kept your obligation. It's time for them to keep their obligation.
So I have two questions. The first one is, whenever they initially sent that estimate with the $52 payout, did they send the same type of paperwork? substantiating why they picked $52.
It should have been accompanied by an Xactimate estimate.
Yeah, like what he was showing you.
So
That-
you're able to look at it comparatively.
Xactimate is, you know, in the industry, people will consider it the Bible. It's a tool, it's an estimating
Right, I
tool.
understand.
And it's not, but you'll hear, well, if it's not an Xactimate, then, you know, I won't even honor it. You don't understand, that's not the way it works, it's what it costs.
We're fortunate that Repa's in the insurance business, so
Yeah.
she understands some of what you're going through now with some of her clients.
So, my second question would be, are you able to look at the property and tell where further damage has happened because it was missed or not repaired at the time, and can we add that in? Like
Yes, ma'am.
mold, mildew, things of that nature?
Exactly, yes.
Microbial growth.
Okay.
Water intrusion.
Yeah.
So this
There
is
you
the.
But particularly so as it relates to interior damages, you would be surprised how much damage occurred because they didn't shoot straight with you initially. Didn't come in and repair it when they could have and should have, and then the ice storm hits. When the ice storm hits, holes that were small filled up with ice, that ice expanded the hole and made a bad situation worse.
And that's what happened at the media center. That was noted, the media center had damage that was initially covered up because it was a hot day. But then when the ice storm hit, it opened up the wounds that it actually had during the hurricane. And that's why there was no choice, we had to immediately repair that.
And one last thing, I'll speak like an auctioneer. Whatever length of time it takes us to get the package all put together, the objective is to send it back for them to absorb and to dispute. So if they want to say, we want to settle, that's one issue. I would never settle. That's just me. I mean, there's more to it than that. Good negotiating tactics do much better. And I just say that because we don't know what's going to happen in a year and a half. We have rampant inflation, inability to get steel, whatever the case may be. So we're just going to try to set the table in the most appropriate way. And if that doesn't work in the contract, you can go to appraisal. And it's becoming, that's all I do outside of this, that it takes the contention out of it and you're negotiating on a number that will, there's no coverage issues, that's not even brought up anymore. It's just a number. So there is a couple more steps we can use, but we just hope to be able to go back with the supplemental estimates at one time and, like I said, knock your socks off.
The key thing is, when the time comes, we want to negotiate from a position of strength, not a position of weakness. We don't have our T's crossed and I's dotted on the documentation and the support.
This is the documentation.
And the
To photograph
photographic
every
support, the
single
video
thing
support.
that we see.
When this type of overall presentation is submitted to the insurance company, they don't have a whole lot they can say. At that point in time, they'll scramble and try to get their engineers to come back or have someone re-inspect. But the fact of the matter is, they should have done it right the first time, and we wouldn't even be here. And that's the sad story at the end of the day with what's going on.
Do you have a timetable, possible timetable? I don't mean anything structured.
And let me quickly add, all folks on this aspect of the matter know that time is of the essence, because we want as many of the children to enjoy the finished product as possible, as quickly as possible. Moreover, we know that there's some existing projects going on that are being asked to be placed on hold while we can try to hurry and get this done. So rest assured, we're pushing it as hard as we can to give you exact timetable. You might be in a better position than me, but as he said, this one complex took a full week, and he's jumping on another one after this, okay? But you can rest assured, we understand that we are dealing with times of the essence.
And your fees are included in the settlement.
That's exactly right. They're going to be
Their
part.
fees are included as a part of the settlement with the insurance company.
One thing I forgot, a little bit of my pedigree right quick so you understand. I'm in my third decade of adjusting. I've been a field adjuster forever, specialize in large loss commercial. I am now the immediate past president of the National Association of Independent Insurance Adjusters. And that's a national organization of basically small business, family-owned companies. So and I know all the tricks of the trade from the carrier side. That's all I've ever done. So
And I can also say, to his credit, talked to another superintendent in another parish that just went through all this, and they come highly recommended, because they've seen this process play out.
Joel's a big city guy from Houston, but he's got roots in Nacogdoches. So he speaks to all of us. Yeah. Y'all have any questions? I appreciate y'all letting us make this presentation, and we will continue to keep you posted as things develop.
Just one caveat, just one of these type of events, and hope they don't ever happen again, we'll start with them first. We won't wait a year before we start this process next time.
And I will tell you, there's some contractual terms that we currently enjoy that we probably won't see again, because they're gonna make that contract in the future a little bit more difficult on us. It's as broadly written as it relates to what is a qualified damage item as we can hope to have. I'm sure they're gonna wanna try to negotiate some different terms next time around. So now's the time. We can't assume, well, that damage will be picked up on a future storm that seems to be coming frequently now. We can't look at it that way. Now's our time. We have to make a stand. We have to make sure that all our T's and across I's are dotted and get this done now.
Let's simply put, it might take 90 days to get all the estimates in place.
Okay.
And that way you've got it all, it'll be a pretty package and secure to death when you send it to them.
Yeah.
I'd let this get out. That's a very important part of this.
Which, in the event, anyone with the insurance company should contact any of y'all and ask you if you're satisfied with the project. If y'all would, please just, let's have one spokesman, push that question on Dr. Eloy, and what we'll do is we'll coordinate the response, which will be, we'll get back with you. Because as soon as we get it all done, they will get something back to them, which they will not be happy to see.
Sounds good.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, maintenance report.
Good evening, how are y'all?
Great.
It's a pretty standard report, nothing real major going on. Central Warehouse, we started logoing our trucks, so y'all will see our trucks with a good NPSB logo on, so I'm excited about that. New fire alarm system will be installed here and at the media center. Thank you, Space.
Talking about fire, I should have asked in the superintendent report. Are we having fire drills at all these schools and,
So they're mandated to, and that's part of the crisis planning, is to make sure that everyone's crisis plan is up to date and everyone's doing all those things that they're supposed to do, which are, so many tornado drills, so many fire drills, and all that stuff. So that's getting cleaned up and a little more standardized across the parish in about 3 weeks.
all right, because I was starting to understand that some of the schools are not doing it, and if we not doing it, not documenting, and something happen and a child get hurt,
Yes, sir.
just sign a check
That
and give it to the
is one of the
parents.
things that I have taken on.
And ask them how much they wrote it down for, so we don't have to pay.
Yes, sir.
You're correct, and also our fire department gets graded on that.
Yeah, yeah. So
At
that's-
the end of the year, I'm gonna have to start sending documentation of all the fire drills we do to the fire department so they can turn it into the state because they get graded on it. So that's one of the things that I'm working on currently. LP Vaughn, we had some dead trees removed, and saved a few vehicles, I hope. Nothing major other than a bunch of construction, guys. We've got miles and miles of construction. We just got our new buildings today, our temporary classrooms for Natchez Central. They started putting those together today, so hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we can get some power into them and we can get those up and going. Got our metal detectors installed for NJH. Got our 30 windows that we put in for. We got those installed. Everything looks great. If you haven't seen it, you need to swing by and take a look at the front of it. Check it out. Other than that, it's just our basic stuff. Update from Fastenal, our inventory list is in, and they're currently working on prices for me and Miss Hicks. So we're still waiting on pricing on that. Our new work order system is still undergoing and still in progress. And we did get our lawn care bids in, and that's something we'll be discussing Thursday?
No, it's not.
Yeah, we'll be discussing later on tonight. Do y'all have any questions for me? All right.
The child nutrition update is all good news. We had another $352,000 claim for the month of October, and November's was right in that neighborhood. I'm still waiting to submit it because we had to do a revision. We are serving snacks at several of the schools, after-school snacks, and so I had to do a little paperwork, but that will go in before we go home for the break. All of the cafeteria equipment that has been ordered, for the most part, is here and installed. I think the workers are really enjoying those being in their kitchens. The remaining pieces are primarily serving lines, and those are specifically made for the school, so they take a little longer. There's also a little hang up on some parts. I called a couple of weeks ago to follow up on that. I applied for several equipment grants with the state, and we were awarded 3 of those, which was very exciting to me because that's $45,000 worth of equipment. Additional equipment that we got at zero cost to us will be reimbursed by the state, 100% on that. And those grants were awarded to Marthaville, Provençal, and I cannot remember the third school. I'll have to look back in my notes. Ovens. I'll have to look. I'm sorry, y'all. But it was 2 sets of double ovens and a tilt skillet, totaling $45,000. The other good news that I wanted to share with you is Mr. Ed Seja, who was here at our last board meeting when we were talking about needing generators, approached me after the meeting and he said, "Hey, I have some generators. I know where I can get you some generators, donated generators." And so that really piqued my interest. Well, he works with Chevron, and they have these 3 generators that they have graciously donated to our parish, and we will be able to use the money that came from Weyerhaeuser to install these, because there is different lines and things that they have to lay in order to hook this up. We may even be able to cover them using some of that funding. So we're going to combine those things, and I was very excited about that. So I think that will be forthcoming. I'll update you on that as we go along. Do you guys have any questions for me?
That is all good news.
It is all good news. Much better than the news I was reporting last year about this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Page.
First, I just want to say thank you all for your support that you offered. You came out to share with us when we did our celebration for the employees. Got a lot of good feedback from that. The other thing is, Marlon, everything else is here. If you have any questions, just ask. I am going to have 2 new job descriptions that I want you to look at and approve Thursday. You won't have to pay for it. It's other funding, so it's no big deal, I hope.
I just wanted to mention to you about the event at the event center next year. If we do that again, will you keep us in mind to serve? Like, I noticed that you had volunteers serving food, and I think we would all love to do that. Serve y'all.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. We certainly will. If there's anything else you'd like to do.
And we can dance with y'all again whenever you
Yeah, we
go.
pay for a DJ.
Let's reserve that for invitation only.
We were all invited.
Mr. Wasco?
Okay. Okay. This is the report for the end of October. So we're kind of about 2 months behind. We're not doing like literally like the next week after the month ends. this has helped with these reports, so we've been able to start posting our receivables. So these budgets will become more and more valuable to us all as they're more up to date with what's actually going on, particularly in the revenue section, the revenue reports there. So the third column is the actual year to date, and the comparative where we were the same time last year is in the second column. Our budget is the first column for the year. Any thoughts? As you can see, we're running a pretty healthy $4.1 million surplus at this time. Property taxes hadn't even started coming in yet, so a lot more is coming in later. But we are still ahead of last year. And so in child nutrition, as you can see, her numbers are at 900,000 compared to 173,000 this time last year. So she's child nutrition is a significantly better position, and she's actually showing a pretty sizable profit there. So we're real happy about that. And this is what I was talking about to y'all a couple of months ago, that the revenue in Title I should always be equaling the expenses to the penny. And this shows that very thing happening. You can see from the column 2, which is last year's report, that the revenues are $482,000 and expenses are $824,000. Here, though, you'll see in third column that we've started making these adjustments, that column, the revenue and their expenses both equal out each other. And that's how it's supposed to be for the Title I. So basically, for every penny you submit, we get reimbursed every single dollar.
Can you explain why that is a major issue if they don't match?
Why? Well, because any event that we mess up our submission, or the general fund has to pay for it, and it becomes an issue.
So if you submitted something 9 months ago and it didn't get paid,
Or didn't qualify.
didn't qualify, and we I don't know, it's 50,000 and you forget or whatever, then that's still going to get paid. It's just not going to get paid from the grant or the title or whatever. It's going to get paid out of
General fund heals all wounds, and it costs us a good bit of money, so the issue is to get that correct.
I just want to highlight how important it is that you are now showing those matching dollars.
Correct.
So.
Okay. Any questions about this? I know y'all last June and July was complaining about the budget. This is now, I'm happier so with this. It is much more helpful for y'all. And that's what y'all are here for, is to help manage the budget. Okay. Yeah, the next one is tax commission report. Well, do me a favor and go all the way to the very last page. This is when I give you all these reports, just do me a favor, go to the last page. The reason is this is distributions. And distributions actually means the tax commission distributes to us. Okay, so the very last, this is a cumulative report. We have received, the second to last column says 1.388 million. That's how much money we've collected this year over and above last year's collections at the same time. It's an 18% cumulative increase over last year. That's all really good news. And because
a lot of employees was happy over that.
Yes, it showed up in the sales tax check, which is about a 21% increase over last year's sales tax check. I know it differs from that number there, but where there were some adjustments and not as many people we were distributing the money over across. So anyhow, it allowed everybody to earn more. So anyhow, I'm real happy about where we're at with this. So, okay. That's all good news. It remains to be good news. Remember, each year, and we keep doing 18% each year. The next year, it's always harder and harder and harder to beat that at the same percentage. But 1.4 million, almost $1.4 million increase is really good for the first 5 months. That's really nice. So, okay.
All right, transportation.
And Ms. Felicia?
Hello, everybody. Well, I got some more good news. Well, first of all, before I get started, I want to introduce you guys. We have our regional manager here, and just to, so you guys will know, put a face with his name. His name is Kurt Washington, and he's new with the company. He's been here a few months, and he has over 20 years experience with transportation, so he's a big asset, you know, not with the company, but also with me, just showing me the ropes and getting everything going. As of right now, we're almost at 100% with buses. So Clutreville area has been filled with all drivers, so we have enough staff for Clutreville, so the kids will be able to get to school and, you know, not have to shuttle them around and everything. So they're good on that part as well. Natchitoches has one more opening, you know, to fill, but we do have 4 people that are studying to actually get their permits so they can get their licenses to be driving and stuff. So kudos for them, and so just keep them in your prayers so they're gonna get it. But as of right now, everything is going good as well. We're just getting everybody situated for the holidays and everything. Like I said, we're still recruiting, bringing in more, so the more people we can get in and we can help alleviate, like the Marshallville area where we have some longer routes, we can help out with that area, and that way we can get everybody home. At least even our drivers, students get home at a good time, but it's our drivers having to come back, you know, later, so we can get everybody home at a good time to be with their families. Any questions or anything? Okay. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas. All right. Daniel?
Permission to advertise for bid for school board land for hunting, and I think we've starting that, is that right?
Yes, I decided, because we have a lot of demand for us to immediately put it out for lease. And to get, I know the hunting season is really just now ending, but in order to be prepared for next year, I would like permission to go ahead and start putting those bids out for lease and get that settled early so that everybody's happy. We have a large demand. I've gotten many phone calls over this.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay?
Now you're gonna have in different sections, you know.
I was gonna rent, I was gonna lease out everything we had.
No, but I'm talking about, will it be showing where the property is at or whatever? Say for instance, like I know on Waterwell Road, we have some, and then we have some down in the Butcherville area, and that's what I was just, is going to.
Do you think it would be best? See, the thing is, I've never done this before, but, because, I mean, if you just give a section property, I'm not sure anybody really knows what that is. You know, you say track so-and-so, section so-and-so, nobody really knows. I'm gonna try to find a way to communicate where that is in Parish and Natchitoches if they're interested in that. Large blocks of our 640 acres at a time, I'm gonna get all that done. It's strange, but we actually own a large chunk of Clear Lake, but the little section that actually is land, we have people wanting to rent that.
Right.
That surprises me, but
Down on Prairie.
most of it's swamp, but it's apparently.
It's duck lease.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
duck lease? Okay.
And they
That
wait,
makes sense.
and they build blinds, but they also have to deal with the water, with the Clear Lake Commission. Now, we have some out around Clarence, and it's surrounded by private property.
Uh-huh.
How do we deal with that?
You mean the easement to get to it?
Correct.
We're gonna
The
have to
landowner is not excited about that.
giving an easement to get at it.
A lot of that school board property years and years ago, they should have easement to it. Because years ago, property, you know, they always had an easement to it. If somebody was all the way around, they always had an easement somewhere to get to it.
Correct.
You know,
Yeah,
so
but
that's
for
what you
years-
just gonna have to find out where the easement, you know, the landowner might say, well, such and such, and you might run into where they didn't sold it to somebody else, but if it's documented in the courthouse, no matter if they didn't sold it 10 times since it's the original thing, it's still, you know, they have to give you that right away.
Honestly, in those particular instances, I was gonna work with Joe Stamey
Yeah.
to go to the courthouse and figure out what's in the easement records and allow them to know where the easement is.
If I'm not mistaken, on that piece you're talking about, they were using the levee system to actually travel across to get down to that.
This was somewhere else. This is it around the Clarence Black Lake area.
Black Lake area?
Yeah, and the landowner for years has chased people off because they wanted to access that property. So it's gonna be a sticky subject. And Mr. Watson, I'm glad you're getting started early.
Okay.
Item 7B, approve winning bid for district-wide lawn care service.
We had several vendors inquire, but only one give a bid. The bid to mow, even the existing contracts, we have a contract here with the central office as well as Marthaville has a mowing contract. This sits on top of that. And I opened up another document. Well, that's my bid recommendation letter, I guess. My recommend, yeah. Right off the top of the bat, considering the savings that we're going to have of what it would take for us to privatize it, to do it within ourselves versus privatizing it. We currently pay about $9,600. If you'll see the numbers in red, $9,600. That number is how much we currently pay a year to mow these two buildings in the warehouse. I think it's mainly just this building here. We pay $31,000 roughly to mow Marthaville. All that money will be saved. I kind of estimated what it would take for our own crew to use existing equipment and pull it all together. When you add up all the current expenses we are spending on personnel, we have several locations where we have several custodians that all they do is mow. That's all they do. When they get there, they mow all day long. They mow, weed eat, spray. So in order to pull together a successful operation internally, it's probably going to cost us, and this is being conservative, around $299,800, but let's say $300,000. And for us to privatize it like we're doing, I believe that this is actually going to create a net savings for us. Because let's face it, we really don't have a system going right now. It's not really functional at all. So for me to...
It will be more efficient.
What's that?
It will be
more efficient. Now, I will tell you this about the Payne Lawn Service. They currently do all of Northwestern. I didn't know that, actually. So they are actually skilled at doing large, because we have large chunks of land that need to be mowed and maintained. They are quite qualified to do this, and my recommendation will be to adopt them. That is true that they were the only bidder. We did have 2 or 3 others to make several inquiries and gave them a lot of information. They just chose not to come to the table with a bid. But I would recommend to the board that we adopt this and start to implement them in mowing as soon as possible.
Now, this is all our schools, even
All our
Old Donald, Fairview,
All
and
our
all that?
schools, central office, it's
Every-
everything we currently maintain. It's basically all four, what I call our 14 campuses.
Now, the existing lawn equipment that we already own, what will you do with it? Come back and auction it off
Well,
later?
Ryan and I were talking about that. We were going to basically put it in storage for a year. We have some needs for some of the tractors internally in maintenance, but we were going to put it in storage and just see how this contract goes. This contract is for just this. Well, we're going to offer them a contract with an out in a year, and if we're not happy, we will just do something else. So we're not going to take any action with any current existing equipment. I will tell you that we spend a lot of money each year on repairs on that equipment. It's just excessive. So I will tell you that we're not taking any action that we can't come out of if this does not go well. But I do honestly believe, and I know Mr. Payne for a while, I do believe this will go well.
So that's 81,000
At least.
savings?
It's not 81,000 in savings in total. It's going to be some savings close. But if you look at it, it's going to take Ryan a crew of 6 to get this done. If you were to say steal a custodian who's currently mowing, put them in maintenance, put 2 of them in maintenance, and move things around, it's going to cost us $300,000 or more to just run the crew ourselves. It's going to cost them $258,000 for them to do it, and honestly, it's one less thing we have to manage. Our goal is only to keep them accountable to the standards by which we set, and Ryan set some pretty good standards to keep them going. So we become just simply inspecting their work and making sure there's not a lot of spray. If y'all have been to our facilities, I hope y'all understand that's not acceptable mowing.
Right.
What we're getting now. So this is an attempt to make a change to improve that, and I do believe this is probably our best mode. The best way to do this.
I don't have no problem with it, because I don't want to suggest we do it, so.
So Monterville is like an average campus, because when you look at Fairview and Lakeview,
Like Nack Central,
probably double
Yeah.
And I think.
Next year in Lakeview's a
probably-
large amount of property.
Right, it's larger than Natchez Central.
It is.
Let me ask you a real tough question.
Okay.
How you gonna divide this cost up?
Oh, it's
That is-
actually-
I was probably gonna do it, honestly, you mean to break it out by,
Yeah.
to each of the, locations?
I
was gonna do
He
about,
no, he actually has it broken down
Oh, does it?
by individual location according to the amounts of cuts. That's just the total is the
Okay.
258,000.
Okay, so he did break it
He
down by-
already has it broken
Okay.
down to how many cuts and how much each property is going
That's
to.
so when we get the bill, we'll knock it
You know,
down.
we're
I
we don't
understand,
have
I
money.
understand, but I had him.
He doesn't want that much in Province Hall. that's what
Look,
I'm
I
saying.
had him break it down just for that reason.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, because
So
if you-
we're excited about this. We do believe this probably is gonna be a substantial savings overall and a better and improved quality of product, and look for our campuses. I just,
Well, they did the best they could, the janitors.
now, I would like to say, the janitors will then pretty much be isolated doing everything inside. Because when it comes outside, the mowing team will take care of what the outside. Okay.
Item 7C, approve winning bid on timber contract.
I'm excited to offer
0807.
Lane Timber Company offered what Joe Cooper said is a very good price for timber.
It's extremely.
A very good price for timber. Was that per ton? $15.50 per ton?
Cash per ton, yeah.
And you're not going to get much hardwood, so the vast majority of what is cut is going to be the timber. Everybody knows where this is. This is the track on Waterwell Road. It's 273 acres that's currently needing timber. You'll actually be able to drive through and watch them do their job, as long as they're near the roads.
Now, Mr. Loscom, on the other end of Waterwell Road, did you deal with the squatter problem?
That was actually, we have a squatter. I know we have one on the road of Highway 118 and 119. We have another one?
Okay, I thought that was it.
No, it's the intersection of 119 and 118, we have one.
Okay.
And that's not one that we currently harvest timber off of, which is probably why that hasn't come up yet.
How are y'all gonna deal with that problem?
I'll let you know.
Very careful.
Very carefully.
So, did Lane Timber Company want any timber from Magnet? Did you offer them?
I was wondering about that. That would be funny. It would be funny. Well, if the pastors are gonna cut it, it's 165 trees, by the way. It's
So
a
he can haul it to a
magnet.
mill, and
Huh?
he can haul it to a mill.
If anybody would like to come and timber, they can haul off with the timber. We just try and clear it and make it safe.
Item 7D, distributions of one-time MFT appropriations to all personnel.
Last year I did this in January. This is something we do on an annual basis. I would like to do it earlier, so we can probably get a 1 month jump on this. Because if we don't do it and we wait till later, I catch a lot of phone calls. So I would like to jump in the head so that soon after we get back from the break, we'll be ready to go whenever. Now, I'm not guaranteeing any time frame on this because we have to get back and get ready, but we generally do somewhere like February 10th, but apparently in the past, we've actually done it somewhere around January 20th.
Yeah, and I think overall, anyone who's worked in the school system is appreciative of anything that can happen in January because it becomes a very long month.
Yes, it becomes about 6 weeks without any pay. So I'm trying to target this where we could do it somewhere around the 15th of January.
I think that would be very appreciative of that.
Yes,
Do we have any extra money we can do
You can't just take money from federal funds because of the restrictions and just kind of throw it.
I'm not talking about that, I'm not saying that, I'm
Okay.
asking, do we have any money?
It's currently, to answer your question, it's currently all budgeted, but we do think after the first year of ESSER, there will probably be some areas that show that we didn't consume all of the budgeted areas. So I think a good time to maybe look back at that is at the end of this current school year, and we can probably see some areas that we didn't utilize all of the year one budget.
There'll also be some areas like if sales taxes continue to be strong, we will have some margins in those gaps too to offer. Do you see what I mean? Like if
No,
I
I'm
currently
talking about
spend
extra money, I'm talking
I'm asking about the extra money.
The ESSER money is very restricted to.
I know
what-
that, I'm
Okay.
as, just,
Yeah, no, I think right now, to answer your question, it's all budgeted, but.
all of it is budgeted.
Yes, ma'am, but we do believe, those are budgets at the end of year one, because it's split into year one, year two, year three. There will probably, if we haven't spent all of that year one allocation, there will have to be amendments to that budget. So there will be times to go back to it and look and see if there's money left over.
Okay.
Ms. Palmer, is there anything specifically that you would wanna do
Yeah,
with it?
we can offer something like we did last time to our employees.
I think that's something we could look at the end of the year and see where the ESSER budget is at, that year one budget. I think we can definitely look at it. No promises, obviously, because I just don't know, but it's something we could study closer.
But you just say we'll be getting calls saying that, I heard the superintendent say we're gonna get money at the end of the year from ESSER. So sometimes just don't say nothing about it, say we don't have money and go with it like that. And if we find the money at the end of the year, give it to them. You go get calls that gonna say, cause we even got rumors what we had talked about, some of the, where they gonna get that $5,000. Everybody, we gonna get $5,000 next year. We gonna get, the teacher's gonna get $5,000, but.
And I think that's okay if they do call and ask about that stuff. That's fine.
And then when they find out they can't get, then they're mad with the board members, cause they didn't get the money. The superintendent said they were getting money, and then they didn't get money, sometimes. we
But
just don't even say.
but we have legit reasons why if something, if that they can't get the money, I mean, it is what it is.
Right. I think we just have to be clear on explaining the why, because if not, I definitely get those calls, and I know everybody else on here get those calls.
And just to let y'all know, from the federal fund side, if they audit us, which I think we're coming up on an audit here soon, is what Julie told me, that if we are found where we did not distribute certain things correctly, we have to pull out a general fund to reimburse that.
Absolutely.
So there's a copy of the budget for the ESSER money, if you wanna, can we pass it around to you?
Yeah.
Or you? Our computer's talking over here.
Is that right? Is that what it is? Right. Oh, Miss Bell. Oh. Hang on.
Try it again.
Okay, I can't hear her.
Can we turn her up?
Can we turn her up? There we go. Okay, try again.
Good evening, Mr. Wascom. I have a question regarding the budget. Earlier, you mentioned that, is that correct?
I don't know, I didn't hear. You said earlier I mentioned that, and I didn't, then it went blank.
I apologize. You mentioned that we have $1 million in surplus. I was wondering, when you categorize it, what, out of what funds do we have the $1 million in surplus? Is it the ESSER? Like, where's that $1 million coming from?
The general fund, as I reported under, is under the budget report. It's in general fund, in column 3. The difference between revenues is $15,277,000 and the expenses are $11 million. But you have to remember, we have to maintain $4 million in surplus just to zero out at the end of the year. As we're heading into June, we need $4 million to pay the July and August payroll. Because if y'all, I don't know if y'all know that, but the first payroll on this year is the September payroll. The last, even though July 1 has happened, and for all the 12-month employees, July 1, we're being paid on this year's payroll budget, the teachers are still being, and all 9-month employees are being paid on last year's budget for the 2 months of July and August. So I'm not only posting the normal June payroll in June, but I'm also posting the July and August payroll. So in order to, we have to sustain about a $3.5 to $4 million surplus throughout the year as we're entering June 1, in order to everything to balance out to almost be at zero. So that is where we need to be, and that's exactly where we're at. So I would tell you right now that we really don't have any margin
in monies in the general funds at this time.
Thank you very much.
Okay?
7E, request to approve new pay scale for school food service.
I'm gonna bring Shauna back up here.
And I want to reiterate, as we said prior, this will not take, this proposal, if voted on, will not take effect until July 1. And it's the first of many, all areas of employment to have proposed new pay scales. This is just the first.
Well, I was fortunate enough to be able to come and visit with most of you at your retreat, so this is not new information. What I will tell you is the pay scale that is currently on the monitor, I put a new one at everyone's place. There was a change in one column. Column 2. So if you look at your paper copy, that is going to be the corrected pay scale. Just to reiterate and kind of go over this proposed new pay scale would impact every manager, technician, and substitute technician, along with the school food service office staff and warehousemen, excluding me. All of these people would be positively impacted by this adoption. You have everyone goes on the scale that you have in your hands, with the exception of our office staff. And that is the second attachment that you see there, and that is going to be, they go under the professional and non-administrative. So I've included that there for you as well. The total impact of this would be $169,000, basically $170,000 to cover the increases for all of our staff members. Does anyone have specific questions?
So their base pay now is per hour, so what, around, would it understand you say around $7 an hour or something like that?
Exactly.
And so we're going up to like $10.75, so that's correct.
10 for a technician that would be called in on an as-needed basis. That's like if I were gone and they had to get someone for me for one day. If you are there regularly, like 30 hours a week, it's $10.75. That was the second column change there. And then of course,
This whole thing is about becoming market price and allowing us to at least be able to keep the people we've hired.
correct. Because right now we are just not competitive with those. We're basically like a small business, and we are not competitive with the other businesses
Fast
around.
food restaurants.
Exactly.
You're not even close to fast food.
Yeah. So we have some great people, and we would like to keep them, and I would like to be able to recruit good, solid help for our kitchens. Any questions? I'll leave it with you.
Okay.
Mr. Benefield, you look like you have a question. No?
You were very clear on your initial presentation. Thank you.
7F, maintenance job description and salary schedule.
As you all know, I came to the same meeting as Ms. Hicks. This is not really any new news to you guys. The only thing is, I did present some new job descriptions that we will, try to get past to make sure we can hire the quality of people that we need. This salary schedule, just to let y'all know, D, E, and F are the categories that these people will fall under. Your D/E will be your helper / laborer, just depending on years of service. That all will go into effect. Their years of service will dictate if they fall in D or E. Then our trade-specific personnel, which is your plumbers, electricians, will be E/F. That's also depending upon the numbers of years of service they have in that field, and how many of them will actually relate to our situation. So that's just kind of giving y'all an update on that. Is there any questions? Okay.
And that concludes finance, Mr. President.
Thank you so very much. And HR Director, A.
That was Ms. Bell.
recruiting discussion. Bill?
Right, that was supposed to be, the recruiting efforts, both local and national.
Okay.
I wanted to go ahead and inform, the board and the community of the efforts that were being made, to go out and bring certified teachers into Natchitoches Parish. During the Christmas parade, I got a lot of answers to my quest and research on the efficiency of our recruitment process. I met a woman that was recruited out of Kentucky, actually, and she's been with us for 7 years. So kudos to our director for working hard and working diligently on her recruiting efforts. And I know she's gonna go out to a few more other places in the upcoming months. But those are the stories that the community needs to hear about the recruiting efforts that are being made by us, and that people actually come here and they stay here for a little while. So that's the end of that report.
All right. Executive report. Serena?
Yes, item 9A is the superintendent contract extension. And if you will look at your attachments, you will see a copy of the proposed extension, which does make a change to the date of extending it to December the 31st of 2024, which is the max allowed by law. And I know we discussed this not in the past retreat, but the one before. And we were just very excited that Dr. Eloy wants to make this investment in our community. He's moved his family here, his kids are enrolled in our schools.
Is the attachment executive session content?
No,
Okay.
not at all. Okay, so anyway, with that being said, this is a copy of the proposed contract, and the main change is extending the date. Our district has not been in this position in many, many, many years, meaning that we have a superintendent with a family who wants to be in our parish and not drive from another parish and make the investment in our community that he's making. So we would propose that we extend the contract to December 31st, 2024. And also within this contract, whenever Dr. Eloy was initially hired, it was discussed that once he received his PhD that he would be compensated for that. And so with that being said, I do want to make it clear he is definitely not asking for a pay raise. Like, this is not coming from him. This is coming from me as a board member who sat around the horseshoe table too when he was being hired and things were being discussed about his contract. So with the contract extension, it just makes sense logistically to go ahead and tackle that to a possible pay increase for him receiving his PhD.
Is that doctorate or PhD?
You tell us.
It's doctor, because I actually have my EDD. It's
Okay.
just, it's academia.
Okay. Thank you for the correction. So, does anybody have any questions, thoughts? Anything at all?
And that will not be in the executive, going into the executive session, right?
Right, that is correct. And the reason
I
why
want them to understand why.
right, so I spoke to our board attorney, Bob Hammonds, and Dr. Eloy was present for that telephone conversation. And he said that it was not an executive session item unless we were actually reviewing his performance. And that's not the purpose of this. It's a contract extension. And he said that those things are discussed out in the open to be transparent with the public. And Dr. Eloy was sitting there and he agreed, did you? Okay. That he was okay with it being discussed in the public. So, but also during the month, we or I received information about surrounding parishes and their salaries. And Bienville, this is actually 2016-17 numbers. Bienville Parish, their base salary was $179. I had no idea they had that much money in Bienville Parish.
Yeah, they got plenty, I got land up there.
Okay. DeSoto Parish, this is 16-17, was 180. Rapides Parish, which of course they do have many more schools than us, they were at 187. Back during this time, Sabine Parish was at 142. Now, our base salary for our superintendent is 123. And Sabine Parish, the retiring superintendent was at 172 base, and Red River Parish is a base salary of 133. So we aren't really near any of those parishes. And if we did a base salary percentage, just to bring them close to what others are making, that would be a pay increase of $12,000 per year, $1,000 per month.
But they also
I
don't
have a
have tax
question.
checks too. They also don't have a tax check too.
Right, and some do though.
Yeah.
Like Red River Parish does. They have a tax check. And
Yeah, plenty tax.
Yeah, that's a different animal.
yeah.
Totally different.
Hello, I have a
We
question.
Hold one moment, Ms. Bill.
We say that, but school-wise, campus-wise, student-wise, I do believe we have more than Red River.
Red River #1 right now in painting.
And with these items being said too, I think it should not go unnoticed that our superintendent is being noticed statewide, and this is coming out of Baton Rouge. And I think that we need to make an investment in our superintendent and keep him here as long as we can before he moves on. Not that he's planning on it, he's shaking his head no, but it's hard to find good help.
Okay, Ms. Bill?
Yes, I have several questions. You mentioned that the superintendent was okay with discussing anything pertaining to his contract in the public. Was that accurate?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, so this isn't a performance review. When do we have a performance review with the superintendent?
So that is done annually after the state scores are released, and we've already done that for this year.
Okay. You also mentioned that the superintendent has made a considerable investment into our community. What I'm getting from our constituent is the complete opposite. We have several examples where a lot of us feel left out. We have a policy, no child left behind, where he's left the whole school behind. These are things that are needed to express to the superintendent as far as the growth of Natchitoches, the progress of Natchitoches is concerned. So you mentioned that he made an investment in the community. What community? And what types of investments has he made, other than moving his family here?
With all due respect, the community would be the community of Natchitoches. And I know this may not sound as polite as I wish it would, but whenever you joined the board at the end of July, you had a considerable amount of time to do your own homework, maybe review some old board meetings. And if you can't see that, then I'm very sorry.
Okay, are you done? Because I don't want to interrupt you.
No, I'm done.
Okay, well, I attended a funeral on Saturday in which I was the only school board member that attended. Things like that speak volumes to the community. The superintendent wasn't there. The young man that was shot is from one of our schools. So when you mention investment into communities, sometimes just showing up for our students is quite an investment. It's an intangible investment, but it shows that you care, not just showing up into the community with your family. We talk about the school to prison pipeline. I hear that there's a truancy task force that's being implemented. How is that mitigating the school to truancy, the school to prison pipeline? These are concerns that I have gone ahead and researched on my own, and the community has voiced their concerns to me, which is why I'm bringing it up. In July, before I approached you guys, I did considerable amount of research to find out what the gaps are in the community, and these are the concerns that the constituents are bringing up. So this is why I asked you. You said he's made considerable, investment into the community, and you have yet to mention one. What investment has he made? That's my question. And if you can't answer it, I'm sorry about that.
And my question is, are we meandering close to performance? I'm just wondering because I don't want us to get into trouble with ethics. I know this is that's one of the reasons I was kind of skeptical of allowing this to be done in public, because we could very easily meander into speaking about performance, and that is a no-no.
Right, and I think it's very sad that we have to change our way of doing business to accommodate someone who obviously has an axe to grind. So if any of this does
I'm
need to be.
not sure about an axe to be grind, or anything like that, but I just want to make sure that
There
we
isn't an axe to be grind, for lack of better words. I am a school board member, and I'm able to voice my concerns respectively. I did not speak about his performance on what he's done to me personally, and which you've addressed. So, for the sake of time, you still haven't answered the question in which you verbally said that he's made investments into the community. And my question to you is to list the investment that he's made, and you're unable to answer that.
No, I
respectively.
I can answer you. The thing about it is, when I speak of investment, I think of before he came on board in April of 2020, we had teachers that had a very low morale. We had a central office that had a very low morale, and people didn't want to come to work, and people were scared of a superintendent who had a vindictive nature. And we simply don't have those problems anymore. And our superintendent came on board literally the same month as a national pandemic. And I cannot imagine us navigating those waters under any other leadership.
We're just gonna have to agree to disagree, because there's still a low morale in other schools, and that's why teachers are calling me to explain to me what they've discussed with you and other board members, in terms of what's taking place on an administrative level. So again, I ask you a question: what has been done for the community at large, and you're still unable to answer?
I really feel like at this point, no matter what I say, it will not answer your questions.
Because you don't have an answer. Moving on.
all right. Any further dialogue?
I have a comment. There's not a single board member sitting around this table that does not know that Dr. Eloy has done an excellent job. We've seen that on his last evaluation and so forth. The only thing that I'm asking, I'm not against him getting a raise or anything, but we have worked the county in unity over the last few years. And whatever we decide to do, I hate to see this come out as a messed up, split up vote. And I think we could work the details out on whatever percent or whatever it is that you want to do, or most of us, if not all, could be in favor for what in the job that he has done. And I hope we can do that. We've done it on other issues, and I think we can work this out too.
Yeah, I think where we're going to split hairs at is numbers. Okay, so I would hope that everyone would do their due diligence to think about these numbers, and let's come to some type of consensus
Do we have to do both at the same time?
We don't.
Can we extend the contract and take our time to look at?
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's what I would suggest that we do.
Yeah, and, because, I mean, we don't have to do it all, like you said, at one time. Just extend the contract, come back and work on the other issues.
The only thing in our contract that I would say, if we don't give in what Ms. Phelps is saying, our contract state that we supposed to give him a 2% increase.
I think we should stick to.
We should stick to
what
that
contract
2% right
says.
now. We should buy our contract now. Go ahead
Because
and give
if
him his
not-
2% when we extend this contract, because we should have did it when we, most of the time when we give the, what's in the contract, usually when we do is performance.
Yeah.
And we didn't do it in June or July when we did it, so I think we
We
need
can
to just
go
go ahead
back
and give him that,
And give him.
that 2%. And then we come back, maybe next month, or if we can make agreement, Thursday night on what extra to give him over that. But I think we need to go ahead, because I read the contract today when we sent it, we say about the 2% increase when he would, get different things, and he have increased what he did, so we need to go ahead and give him that. I wouldn't say hold it up till next month or month after, go ahead and start that,
I think our biggest problem is that we have not, because of COVID and all the other issues, we've not had a measurement to show
Right.
that he's actually achieved those things.
Right, and so we're not really looking at true data as well.
But some of the stuff he have achieved, what we had asked him to do with, with the documents and stuff like that, we have, with, getting the numbers up, the morale up and all that, so I think.
Uncertified, we didn't put that in the
Certified, that
contract.
was-
Yeah.
We didn't put that in the contract, but that number has decreased,
Yeah.
uncertified, so.
Yeah.
Also, we're getting some students back.
Yeah,
And that's very important.
Yeah.
And I think they've
I
got
think
some
we do
plans
Thursday night,
to even bring more of our students back. And that's important because for every student we lose MSP dollars.
Yeah.
And every board member understands that.
Right, so everything we've mentioned would in fact be considered an investment in the community.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So maybe we can even do this, maybe we can give him the 2%, and then look, when we make the other vote on all these other pay increases and upgrade the salary scale, we can increase, whatever it is I want to do with that at the same time,
I think that's
as
a
a,
great
as a
idea.
package deal.
Anyone else? Okay, nothing else?
Okay, item 9B, purchasing policy, Dr. Ely.
So actually, DNC, I was hoping to table, because if y'all recollect, I put these in and I forgot to tell y'all, they were put in, and so these are updates from Forethought, but then also we wanted to look at it as a board, so I think those two need to be tabled till January.
Okay.
So item,
So let me go back to forethought. We are also looking at
Yes, so.
changes, right?
I've talked to Dr. Pope, and I think 9H, we have to look at the board calendar. She's waiting to hear what our January board meeting is, and then she would like to come to one of those board meetings to discuss their version of the board.
Possibility.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that might be closer in line to what we're actually doing in the state. So it might be a good opportunity to make a clean break if necessary.
So she'll be giving a presentation.
okay, item 9D, consent of MOU with BIPSI, and there's no name attached to it, so I'm
Yes,
assuming
that,
Dr. Wood.
yes, ma'am, that's me. And all that is we are doing dual enrollment with BIPSI, and so we already have an MOU with CLTCC, but we're starting to do some work with BIPSI because, as you know, they're in that transition. They're still not BIPSI yet, but we just have to have that document on the table so we can do
That's
dual
on record
enrollment.
because of their agreement.
That's
Yes,
important.
yes.
Because they're one now, right?
Correct.
In that regard anyway.
This one. There's your peers.
With us.
Okay, item 9E, mental health committee, Mrs. Bell.
Ms. Bill?
The mental health, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. The mental health committee, I didn't know whether we should add it as a special committee, but it's definitely an initiative that I talked about way back in July. And what we've done progressively is reached out to Senator Bill Cassidy, or I should say Dr. Bill Cassidy, which has communicated with me, and I'll go ahead and share the correspondence with you guys on Thursday. He's been very candid in his approach, and I look forward to working with him and possibly bringing him in to talk about some of the mental health issues that are on the legislative floor.
Okay, item 9F, GBN policy, Dr. Eagle.
Yes, ma'am. So this actually came from John Geis. I spoke to him the other day. Our policy, if you go to the GBN, and it actually shows the red is the old policy. If you scroll all the way down, and the blue is the new policy. Basically, we're one of the few districts in the state that still, he basically called it an outdated policy. This is a holdover from Act 1, and so he told me that we really needed to go about changing this because it's an old Act 1 policy. It basically says certain employees still have to come before the board. That is something y'all haven't done since 2012, so it's a holdover from that. And this is just Ouachita's policy to remedy that. He said he thinks we're one of the few, of maybe the entire state that still has this policy, and he just encouraged us to go about making that change as soon as possible.
Item 9G, policy committee, Ms. Bell.
The policy committee, I'd just like to put on the dais that Mr. Danzy, myself, and Tankia, we're going to start having meetings regarding the policy committee. There are certain policies, as we've discussed in the past, that are outdated, or the verbiage in the manual, both tangible and online, digital, is quite confusing. Therefore, like one of the confusing examples that I can give you is the update of policies. We had 7 policies that were recently updated, and they're not updated online. I can go on and on about some of the things that I found. However, for the sake of time, I just wanted to put it out on record that the new committee members are myself, Tankia, and Mr. Dancy.
Okay, so Mr. Dancy is not on that committee.
No, I don't have to have it.
Well, let me say this, too, I know I spoke with all of you all when we first came on the board about the policy, and that we're trying to minimize the amount of pages in the policy handbook. And when we do get the new company to come in, we're going to minimize the amount of pages so that everyone, and if you're new board member, you will automatically get a handbook. And you get it one time, because and then we'll have to vote on that, as a matter of fact, to do it. But that's my recommendation, because if you lose it or anything like that, you'll need to pay for it out of your own pockets.
Well, one of the questions I got, when the board members started making committees, I thought it was the president.
That's my responsibility. But I let people do.
Yeah, well, it's not I'm talking, it's not a policy, our policy, the board, the president appoints committee, not a board member make a committee. So we want to form a policy committee, and we're doing something that's not following policy right there?
We could.
Can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, to answer, well, to piggyback off of what you just mentioned, that is not what is written in the policy. And there has been a back and forth email between the superintendent and I on whether or not there was a policy committee. And to put on the dais as record, I communicated with Mr. Danzy and asked him over a month and a half ago, would he be willing to participate? And at that time, he did say yes. So if he's withdrawing his commitment to the policy committee, I get it. However, when the policy committee was discussed with the president, he did mention that there was a standing committee already in place. So that's why we don't need to vote on it, since there is a standing committee already in place. And the president is the one that told me that there was a standing committee in place. If that has changed, I don't know. As you are aware, policy is my legacy. So if we need to form a committee or withdraw from a committee, you guys know, well, I shouldn't say that you know because you don't know, but I was putting on record that this is an initiative committee that I would like to participate in and that I hold near and dear to my heart, so that we could govern ourselves accordingly.
Okay, any other comments?
Oh, and the other comment that I had to mention is that on the first page of the policy manual, it states that the policy, each person holding the policy shall make a diligent effort to keep it up to date as new or revised policies are distributed by the central office. Well, the superintendent's job as our secretary is to keep the policy manual updated. I just wanted to go ahead and mention that, and if for everybody that reads the policy manual, it's written on how the policy manual is to be utilized, but to keep the interest of a harmonious efficiency and uniformity of interpretation and lack of time, I will go ahead and possibly make a copy for everybody on Thursday, because I'm not making this stuff up. This isn't a District 5 Regine Bell sort of thing. This is what's written on the first page of the policy manual that we're not following.
Okay, item 9H, 2022 board meeting calendar. There are 2 attachments there.
Yeah. Excuse me, there's 2 options. One is to do, let's see, you have keep everything the same except for January, because January is going to be a real quick turnaround. We'll come back, and so there will be no one at central office to prepare for a board meeting. So that's keeping everything that first week, although we would probably have to do an amendment to March, because there's, on either calendar, I have an issue in March during the first week. We as a board have an issue in the second week because it's the LSBA conference. So that's option 1, and again, there will probably be an amendment for March on either calendar. And then option 2 is board meetings in the second week of the month. And again, we'll have to, if we were to go with the second one, we would probably just have no committee meeting and have it all absorbed into that on the 10th, that Thursday. And then also there would be one other issue on, if you can scroll down, Mr. Kozan, there would be the same issue for election day in November. So the big difference is first of the week versus second of the week. I think, we've talked about it kind of in the office. We see a lot of pros to that second week, especially with some of the reports that Mr. Wascom and his team have to put together, because they receive those from other entities, and so it's helpful from a staff perspective to do that second week. But we know that would be a shift for y'all.
So March.
What about it with March? If we could just do it on the 3rd, and then come back and do it on the 10th, do a Thursday to a Thursday.
So therein lies the problem. I won't be here on the 3rd. I will be out of town on that day. So that's the kind of conundrum there.
All right, so what about the 10th and 17th? Do it Thursday to Thursday on that week.
Ms. Kanika, with that?
Actually, that's the way
In the
the board
past,
used to
we've-
operate. The board used to operate on Thursday to Thursday many years ago.
Well, if y'all would like us to consider that, we could come back with a third option if you'd like us to consider that. For Thursday.
I know that once before in past two, we did, and it was a quick turn, we did a Wednesday, Thursday.
But there's no
We've done a
chance-
Monday,
no
Thursday.
chance
We
of
can't do
doing
a
any
Monday in
research
March,
at
of course,
that point.
because of the conference,
We
but.
might as well do it in one day. There's no chance to do any research in a day.
Actually, the first one was still better than the second one. Just have to opt out with March, figure out what we're gonna do in March.
With the first one, there'd be two changes you'd have to make because of election in November. So it's, the LS, it's.
In March?
No.
So this is option one.
Option two seems to be a little smoother.
Yeah.
That's a herky-jerky challenge.
Option two would be just with
Doing them in the second week of the month.
Yeah, you got election at the end of the year on the 8th, and then you got, which we can make the.
Which I'll tell you, actually, on that March 8th and 10th, we will be back in time for the board meeting on the 8th. Because if y'all recall, I think it
It's
ends.
over at noon.
It ends at noon.
They hold you for ethics training and that's it.
So, I mean,
Which you don't
potentially
get
we
credit
could.
for.
That's on, that's on.
And then they lose the floor.
Yeah, that is on there.
So we would actually be in time, if you wanted to, we could actually do March 8th and 10th and just push the meeting up to like 5:30 instead of 5 to allow for travel.
I don't wanna try to rush to get back. I don't.
But that option two is changing all the meetings to the second Tuesday of the month, right?
Yes, sir.
Or, yeah, either going, let me look at my calendar again.
They're all,
The 10th and the 17th, that Thursday is Thursday. Or you're gonna be out the 15th, the week behind it. So what about the 10th and the?
No, I don't think I'm.
Thursday, Tuesday.
Thursday, Tuesday would work.
Yeah. I
For
mean,
which week? What you talking about?
March.
10th and
So
the.
10th and 15th.
15th.
That shouldn't be an issue then.
I mean, that's pretty smooth there. I mean, you got a weekend across, but again, the board used to function on a week, committee meeting, and then the next week we had the board meeting.
The second calendar, everything is the second week.
Yeah, it's been pushed back.
Everything would be the second week,
And like I said, from a staff perspective, that's more beneficial for them to get things prepared. I know especially for payroll and them. And then, Ms. Kanika, I don't want to speak for you, but I think you kind of expressed some of those same things with getting the board docs together.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that Thursday, Tuesday in March would be fine, and Ms. Palmer wouldn't have to rush to get back.
Does that work for you?
So the.
But I understand Baton Rouge traffic, getting out of Baton Rouge is pretty tough.
Oh, sometimes it is.
So y'all
She's
are
got a
looking
good
at
point.
the possible, I don't know,
Option
we'll
two.
vote for vote on Thursday, but the possible choice of being option two
Yeah.
with the March changing and being a Thursday, Tuesday meeting,
I think, yeah. I believe
Right,
that's-
makes sense.
Thursday committee, and then the following Tuesday would be the board meeting?
Yes, ma'am. Just a suggestion, and then scroll down to November. Are we really bound to that 8th? I mean,
Not really.
can we do that meeting essentially the same way in November, or do something a little different? I mean, election day, the schools are closed, but what about here? The office is not closed.
Because actually in November, you can have it,
Anytime.
you can have it the first week. Yeah, because the first falls on the.
Isn't that y'all's election?
Yeah, we all got to run.
We don't have any
But it would be the week
parties to
before,
celebrate after
November wouldn't, add the first and,
The first and third.
first and third, if you wanted, to have it before the election, either out, whichever.
You have one more chance to get it right.
Yeah, I don't know if it's, but it's your paperwork that gets.
What date would that fall?
The first and second of the month is hard. to
March
prepare
is
for.
10 and
Yeah,
15.
it's hard to even get it to board docs.
Yeah, yeah.
I just had to be careful, because I thought about spring break, but spring break is that following week, so it would be okay.
Yeah, 10 and 15.
Yeah, it needs to be, 10, 15. Again,
But the last time we had election, when we all ran, the meeting was, we just had it just that Thursday, we didn't have it that Tuesday, we had it just that Thursday.
Yeah.
With the election time.
so when is the special election in March?
police officer.
Okay, so it wouldn't,
I think it's the 27th.
okay. So it wouldn't affect.
If option two won't satisfy, the employees, the directors and all that, and we get more information and stuff like that, I think it'd be better.
Go ahead and have one meeting in November, is what you're saying?
No, to do the option two, the second week.
Yeah, I think
And then we
option
just,
two.
and we got plenty of time, we can wait till we get closer to November or whatever and decide what we wanna do.
Now, let me, are y'all good though,
We're
with
good on
option
March.
two, but doing the March thing you talked about?
Yeah.
10, 15, yeah.
Okay.
10, 15.
Yeah, that'll work.
That makes it, I think, the best option for everyone. Like I said, getting out in Baton Rouge some days is just impossible.
That concludes the executive report, unless someone
Just
else.
just before we leave, let me say again to Ms. Palmer, my condolences to you and the loss of your cousin, and to Ms. Reynolds, also to you. Also, I made mention, I think last week or sometime, I'd like to have all of your shirt sizes. Because if I'm buying it with my money, that means you're gonna have to take what I give you, all right? So now it may be ugly, but wear it with nothing.
Wear it with pride,
The other thing is, Ms. Bell, if you would, tell my good friend, Senator Cassidy, to give his friend a call when you can. All right.
We don't have to, I don't understand, John, get up and leave.
Don't even have to suggest it.
Yeah, get up and leave.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.